What I'm interested in is how do you actually prepare people to deal with that pace of change, and how do you build flexible organizations that can try new things and evaluate their value quickly and fold them into your business model quickly. Society is changing underneath our feet in so many different ways. There's lots of data points that I could talk about, but how about the fact that only 50% of the world is actually plugged in and online? Isn't that fascinating? Only 51% of the world, according to the latest Internet Trends report. What happens when the rest of the world comes online? Any kind of community, you have a normal kind of bell curve of people that are right with you and people who are kind of dissenting. Like in this room, there are already people who are like, oh, that guy worked for Obama, I've got to get his business card. It doesn't matter what else I say, you'll find me afterward because you're gonna love everything. And then there are some of you who are already tuning out because I'm talking about politics and you're like, oh, it's not really my thing. But a lot of you are kind of right there in the middle, right? Around that normative bell curve of, oh, this could be really interesting, or not really my thing, but I'm waiting to be convinced. That's what a normal community looks like. My first job was as a cashier at my local Walmart in Oklahoma. I saw some stuff. I was an awkward 16-year-old kid. I was nerdy and artsy and surrounded by a religious culture and religiosity that I did not really resonate that much with. Like, I was probably the only one that brought my copy of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass to Bible camp. We actually got to know some of our trolls. Glenn was one of them. We were like, oh, good old Glenn, you know, always keeping us honest with your bald eagle avatar. We believe change has to be a core capability. I've worked with Fortune 100 companies, I've worked with startups, I've worked with all across the board, and what happens is that we get really scared, right? And something called organizational defensive routines kicks in. We start saying things like, that could never happen here. Change doesn't have to be scary. Change means opportunity. There was an idea in Obama world that if you get into a leadership position of power, as a politician, as a business leader, as any kind of person running a large organization, that you shouldn't forget about the people that you were put in that position to serve. And I think that's a concept that digital can more enable, because we can actually surface those voices and those ideas a lot easier. And I think that if a lot of CEOs would internalize that mentality of, I can actually hear on the front line how my customers are experiencing my brands and products and my company as a whole, it would revolutionize how they actually approach business practices.